So this is unrehearsed, unscripted. I'm just going to power right through this. If I make an error, I'll just keep right on going. As I understand from what I've heard from animal shelters, is that if a dog is dropped off there from a normally loving home and just they for some reason they think they can't take care of the dog anymore, the dog coming from what it perceives as a normal loving environment to the animal shelter, the dog will mentally just shut down. It will assume that the owners will come around and pick it up. They'll be waiting for the owners to come pick it up. And the dog will just, put its nose in a corner. It's kind of a phenomenal thing to see. The dog will just sit there with his nose in his corner, and any attempt to reach the dog will be, pointless. If you put a toy there, it'll ignore all the toys, and it'll sit in its own urine. It'll lay down in its own pee and not move. It'll be so disconnected, so shut down that you can't reach it. That's what happens to an animal like a dog when the owners just give it up. You put it in a shelter. When it comes from what it perceives as a normal loving environment, where it's completely devoted to the owner, and it goes to there, that is cruelty beyond cruelty. It's inconceivable cruelty, mental cruelty for the animal. Now I say this because I just happened to stumble upon a YouTube content that YouTube occasionally suggests that I watch this person's YouTube videos, and it showed, according to the title of YouTube, it was the worst case he's ever seen, and it was one of these cases. And you don't know from the beginning. The guy says this is the worst case of a dog being unreachable that I've ever found. And the person making the YouTube content, who goes around the shelters, and that's how he gets people to watch his things, a fan base. He actually spoke up and said, "Can you tell me the background for this dog? What's the backstory to this dog?" And the other voice, I guess in the next kind of over or something, said that it was put there through financial hardship. Yeah, because of the inflation. The cost of living's too high. Right now, for many Americans, it costs too much to be an American. The cost of living in the United States is exponentially higher. It's too high to live here now. And it's so bad that people are dropping their loving family pets off at shelters. And you call Joe Biden praiseworthy. How can he be any worse of a president? The fact that you can do the mental gymnastics to formulate a narrative where your guy is a good president. That's amazing to me. That's amazing to me. The psychology involved in producing a belief system where Joe Biden's a good president and Kamala Harris has an agenda worth carrying on. That amazes me. That just amazes me. No, the Biden administration could not be any worse. There could not be a worse administration than the Joe Biden administration. Something else I've noticed, and I've been trying to figure out how many Americans are still left in Afghanistan, and here's what I found out. Joe Biden, a professional politician, has learned a trick. And that trick is just don't answer the questions. And what he does is he just lets the news cycle roll over the bad stuff. The news cycle will make his current faux pas disappear, because the news cycle will roll on and will be just forgiven. Last I saw, there was at least 200 Americans still left in Afghanistan. I didn't find any content yet that everything's okay now. Everything's okay now. I haven't found it yet. Wouldn't people report that in the news? Wouldn't that be newsworthy? Newsworthy. Praiseworthy and newsworthy.